Currently setting up for this, making sure we're live. Perfect. All right. This is a test of my panel for Anime Boston. Which I hope ends up being a 1 hour time because there is I have everything prepped in yeah, if this doesn't work, I don't know what my cat is doing. Um, I'm just gonna paint my cat instead and not like a girl and a cat. So, welcome to painting more painterly style. I forget what I called the panel. Um, there might be some better painters end up watching this than I am. And if that's so, I really hope that it's just fun, maybe to learn another artist method, because I know there's a lot of talented people in the Anime Boston Artist Alley, and my cat. I think she's a beautiful artist. So, without ado, let us begin. This is about getting away from our very flat, oops, a very flat style and getting into a more painterly style. There'll be some live painting and there will also be some speed painting videos because I had to pick something very complicated to paint and realized there's no way I can paint this in the time. The actual painting time of this piece is about 4 hours to give you an idea. So I'm going to go back and forth to hopefully show some of the techniques in order to complete this piece. And without ado, let's begin. Uh, when people start painting and they learn painting, right? People are like, "Whoops, is this normal? Hello, tablet pen." Oh, it's like in a invisible group. It cannot be there. There we go. They're like, "Hey, we start out with our peach tone, right?" And then you're like, "Oh, I gotta pick like a darker color, right? And gotta like get a darker color, right? And then you try to paint this back and forth. And ultimately you end up with something pretty flat because when you first start painting, you're not really learning about how to make it easier for you to build up that color, I find, because we constantly go and we put down the colors that you would think that should be there. But yeah, there's a much easier way to complete this. I'm going to show it to you today. So there's two settings on our basics for our brush tools that allow us in order to create a style. And everybody's like, what brush do I use? What brush do I use? Well, the default for most artists is going to be the classic, this brush. Believe it or not, we're going to make this brush do what we need to do today. It is one of the oldest brushes, one of the easiest brushes, and it will complete. There's two settings on Photoshop. I don't know where they are in Krita. I believe it's called, which would be the free program equivalent. You have this, which you can see gives it a transparency when you lift up the pen lighter, and this will also allow us to make more variances to our brushstroke depending on how you press on the tablet pen, opposed to people that have used mice in the past and you constantly have to change your brush size and just use transparency. Now most of us have tablets and can do this so much easier with a tablet pen. The tablet we are using today is a Wacom 3 because they don't die. That's the best tablet pen if you ask me, and you get no other answer other than that. So you want to pick a light source. For this tutorial, I have picked the top right. What you want to do is basically, we're just going to do the black and white. And I have picked a gray layer for our background so that my eyes don't die. Um, it's easier not to strain out myself. And you don't have to be like perfect with this. You're not looking to get, oh, we gotta get every single little detail right now. I mean, you don't need to do that. The idea is you want to actually like think about that light from the direction and you want to block out everything, even just using larger shapes first. Ah, yes, my cat. And get those all set for you. Get those larger shapes in. This might not match my save file because every time you draw something, it's gonna be like a little bit different, right? So when things are in black and white, I find that if you're just starting out painting, it's gonna simplify stuff for you a lot better because you're not gonna be thinking about initially what color should this be, you know? Like you're just thinking about what the values should be, like what's going to be lightly dark and what's going to be really dark. And this stage, you also want to think about like local colors a little bit, which is the color of what something actually is. Like if you wear a red shirt at night, it might look really, really, really dark purple, for instance, in the moonlight, right? Um, so if things are darker, you might want to think about that for this technique. Like her hair, for one, is a lot darker. So it's okay to get heavy on the shadows for that in order to get that dark. Also for, this is another beginning thing, like a lot of people make their irises really, really bright when in reality, like they are subjected to the shadow that occurs when your head turns, like your eye's not going to be white. It would be glowing like that guy from Solo Leveling, right? If it was that white in the dark. If you mess up on this technique and you need to put some light back in, it's okay to pick like a lighter gray and you can now go back into. And what your aim of the goal is to just build this up. And feel free to pick other brushes. Oh gosh, this is like beginning Photoshop. In order to get this set, because Photoshop does have more painterly brushes that hopefully I will download and showcase to people in the panel uh, and not forget about it. But yeah, think about all your shadows, get that all set. If you miss a spot, pick a lighter gray, pull it back out for where light is going to be hitting. So we have this light coming from this way, and then I'm just gonna do this really quick. We're gonna darken up this area. Just to show you real quick. So if we have light coming from that way, also from, there's a, on this piece there's like white light coming from the front a little bit to kind of do that there. And then there's also another light coming from this side over here to just gently light this area. And now we're going to play a video um, of how we're gonna build up the paint. And I'll show you how we do some of the other things we do in the speed paint. Let me get this open. Here we go. So this is a speed paint now of all our details. In the original here, you can see I actually start out with a very dark brown. You don't have to use black. You're not married to a color. Just keep in mind that if you do want absolute black in your piece, for whatever reason, that if you use a color, I mean, obviously, you're going to have to paint over it with black eventually. But basically, you want to block out your shapes and you want to think about them as larger shapes because so often or not we get stuck into small areas where we're tickling, tickling, tickling the eyelash. We gotta draw every single hair, and at this point, it's not a good idea to think about it like that. You just want to block out those large areas, and don't be afraid to be like, this whole area is in the shadow. It's actually very popular, if you'll notice, and I'm sure if you walk around the Anime Boston Artist Alley and also on places like Pixiv, where it's like the anime face, the entire face will be in the shadow, and it'll just be like one little dot for the nose will be in the light, and that's it. Just one little dot. And this might look like I'm going into details, but this is just like it's one stroke. I am not really worrying about where exactly it's, as long as it's not completely off. At this point, I do make a base color for her to help in further drawings. I can use that as a clipping mask if I need. It also just tones everything down because I know that the local colors I want to use are really dark. Like I said before, you're going to want to be aware of your local colors a little bit. For instance, I know this cat, I want it to be very black and her outfit to be very black. So I'm actually going in with a violet, which is kind of like compared to brown, it's cool. So I'm hoping that it will differentiate. And I'm using the airbrush tool to get really fast values on the rest of her where I want it to be very, very fast. Now we're at a part I'll show you in a bit where we do a gradient map. This can help you get some color variance and why it doesn't matter what colors you choose to your piece because you can use the gradient map to set them. And here I am using an adjustment layer and I am making a rim light that is not originally sketched, and I'm sketching it now on another layer. So it's just a rim light kind of from the back top, like before I was showcasing that light. And you just want to think about like all the areas here where light is going to hit and pop them back out, kind of differentiate them. So we have our shadow as our base that we drew, and we have on that a gradient map, and on top of that we have our rim light. All right, we're going to go back to our file and we're going to look at a few things. So, da, da, da. This is our original underpaint. I did go into it with a few different colors for whatever reason. This is our gradient map 1. Where am I missing? Oh yes, the base color, yeah. So this is where you see it kind of gets kind of neat and purple. Where is the neat purple? It might be on, oh yeah, that was, I think, directly in the underpaint. I changed the colors. So those colors are actually in the gradient map, and we'll look at that if it'll let me. No. Here we are. So this is our gradient map. To add a gradient map, it's in a group so that it does not affect any of the layers besides what is in this group, which is the base and the underpaint layer. If it's not in the group, it's also going to affect this gray color here, which is our background. So, oh yeah, so to get a gradient map, you go to here, or, hang on. It's one of these things, I swear. Here it is, create new filler adjustment layer, and gradient. And you'll see right here's our gradient. And Photoshop has a bunch of built-in, hang on, this is gradient fill. We want gradient map. It's at the bottom. Ah! I did it too fast. Hang on. So if I turn the other one off, cancel, go away. So if I pick a color, you can see how it does the thing. Like it's gonna change your values. What I recommend to do is like, you gotta be the opposite, so you gotta drag these squares. The left is like the shadow, that way is the highlight. So if I wanted like crazy green, and you see how you change it, it's gonna move with your values. So, and you can add a thing with a little hand. And if you want like a really, really bright color that you probably can't print at your printer, yeah, there you go. You can add that in there, and you can see how spooky we've gotten, and just adjust it to something that you like. I do recommend going darker than what colors you might paint. But yeah, that is how you get a gradient map on there. And that's gonna save you a lot of time while painting. If you don't have a gradient map, you're going to have to manually colorize this or use multiply or some type of layers in order to adjust it. Let's see what we're up to. Yeah, I mean, you also want to think about what you're defining now and what you want to define with your painting layers. Like something might be bright red, so you can just push that darker all in black or something because it might look cooler with the colors on top. And then you begin to colorize it. So like this is an overlay layer. And all you're gonna do, like for instance, this is another overlay layer, is you're gonna pick a color and fill in your values, your local color values. This is where we kind of begin to care about what color things actually are. I'm just gonna put, this isn't the color that I used before, but we're just gonna show. Now she is pink. It's a pink kind of mood. We're moving to the Barbie movie. But you can see how that adds that color value to the tone so that it may begin to be colored. So we have overlay. Anything that I can't complete an overlay, sometimes you have to like color adjust, like on the skin tone specifically. The purple, the bright purple, does not look natural to me at all. So what I did here is I took it out with some flat color, which is the color layer, and then I used a multiply layer above that layer to tone it back down. What's this? That's my edit. Dun dun dun. So from here we're gonna start with our final painting, actually. And I'm gonna show you how to do that. You're like, man, we threw all these colors in. When do we actually start painting? This is the part where we actually start to paint. So here, right now, I'm just gonna use this brush. It's gonna be not fancy. It's very simple. You hold your finger over whatever key you have set to sample colors, and you're gonna go ahead and start painting with that color you sampled. And the goal is to finish up the details and eliminate your line. At the end of this, like, you're probably not gonna want to see like any sketch, and you might not be able to get the details that you want with all these layers. Like you're gonna have to use for like eyelashes, you're gonna have to take off the fade because those are gonna be more sharp, right? So you're gonna stop the blending for that, and you're gonna make it more of a hard stroke or sharper line. And this color still looks awful. I think at some point we begin to color this in. But yeah, it's all about sampling and using the pen pressure to get that all together. And you are going to paint literally right over your lines. Now this is something you really don't think about as an anime artist is, as an anime artist, right? Like if you're doing just flat, right? You you are painting within the lines, right? For the most part. When you do more painterly stuff, it's not gonna always be within the lines. You're not gonna say, oh, I go exactly up to the stroke. Nope, you see you went a little over. So it's always gonna be back and forth. You're gonna build it back up with that color using our sample. Again, eyedropper tool to sample all the colors. All the colors. You're not allowed to sample just one. Um, and you can see this eye looks painted already, and we did very, very minimal to achieve this. It was like a couple layers and like 2 seconds of painting, right? And this kind of method is available in almost any painting program that is available right now. The sample with a little bit of transparency and a little bit of brush size and just paint back and forth using the sample. This is the basis of the original OG uh, digital painting. So yeah, you can see this area right here is about like painted now, and I'm gonna be going over these areas again. Okay. Now that that is set, we're gonna watch another video of a speed paint. Do-do-do-do. For some of the next parts. You can see here, I'm like, what color? Sometimes you have to play with layers to really figure out when you're colorizing from black and white what kind of layer that you want. You can see here I did go, as with the file, with the overlay layer, to lay in the local colors again, right over on top of our underpainting. And it's pretty simple. It's like a warm brown for the skin, a darker brown for the hair. And because of the way the overlay works, that purple from the gradient map is showing through everything, which is also why we get that. It's super neon on the skin. I'm just using a very mild, I think gray on the body. I'm starting to say, hey, do I want these flowers to be purple to kind of match the theme? Or give her the gold eyes like Yoriichi from Bleach, because waifu. Um, Keeping our color palette pretty together here. We're staying within almost like a dual two color, dual chromatic, I guess is the official name, where it's basically like orange technically and purple. I guess there's technically some blue in there. But the fewer colors you use, the easier it's going to be to set your palette. And I recommend to speak to your cat. And if you're first starting out painting, like instead of doing all the colors, you might want to try, and this is just something to try, and it's not for everybody, to just limit your palette into something so that it's all together. So that was that file. We are going to not save, no. And we're gonna open up our next file, which I believe is part 2. Part 2, we have some painting set, do we? Paint over. Yeah, here's the paint over where we've gone even further. So what we are doing in this paint over now is, like I said before, we are trying to eliminate that sketch underneath by just painting directly over it. And I've showed you the Photoshop brushes, dry media, wet media. We can show you some of the new Photoshop brushes. Kyle's Real Oil Flex. Let's go, Kyle. Kyle, I'm highly disappointed. There we go. So Photoshop finally has built-in paint brushes. Forget what these do. I'm a Photoshop master, I swear. Um, but you'll see the difference because it'll have the little paintbrush next to the brush as compared to before we were using the old school default round Photoshop brush. Um, so these have painting built into them, unlike your other brushes. So whenever you have a painting thing built into it, obviously, it's gonna make it a little bit easier, you know? So, yeah, I think at some point here we decided that was too neon, added some white. But you can see how it does have a little bit of blending in it, like real blending. Other programs that do this are like Painter, Clip Studio has this The other program we're going to look at today is Rebel. Rebel also has this. So I just wanted to show you the other brushes in Photoshop. And you can see that if I am using this brush, my cat loves it, it's going to be a lot less sampling because it's going to do the blending for you. And it's going to give you a more painterly style faster than you having to force it to complete what you want. What's next? There is a part 3 video. Meow. I think this is just painting using the blending tool. Oh, this is Rebel. We're gonna look at this in a moment. I actually don't need this video, I don't think, in my panel. It's here for emergencies. Alright, so we're gonna move over to Rebel. Boop. We're not gonna save this. Where is Rebel? We gotta look for it. And hopefully I gotta test this, that this paints. As you can see, that painting takes a long time and we're already probably about halfway Kitty! Through our Kitty. Rebel likes to open, I recommend opening if you need to open. Open directly in Rebel. Don't open it in your Finder because cats will meow very loudly. It'll just keep opening Rebel over and over, and I don't know why that is. It's like not really, it's not set up to do multiple files in window format. Ouch. Are we part 3 yet? Yes, okay. So what I did here, and I should show that before probably, is we have flattened all our layers into one layer. Why did we do that? Because Rebel is probably not going to support your 10,000 adjustment layers that you use in order to get what you want. Rebel is great, my favorite new painting program. Is it working right now? Sometimes it decides that it does not. Oh yes, Kitty. But yeah, here we are. We're going to eliminate our line. And there's some really great stuff in the kit for Rebel. Like, I love most of these brushes. They're so good. They're so blendy. Look how blendy they are. So, yeah, completing a painterly style suddenly becomes very easy once you get a program that just does it for you. No, it doesn't do it for you. We built this up from a base, from an underpainting, so that it's going to be able to be completed within this program. So now we're just gonna paint in this for a little bit. um, a little bit less explaining to do. It's pretty straightforward. You want to think about here what is going to be a local color, and because items are in shadow, the more shadow you get, the less things are going to be saturated. So they're going to be different colors than the local color, which is Might be brown for this. I actually can't remember to save my life what colors I made this in the final for this little strap. It might just be purple. But yeah. And oops, I forgot to make another layer. You want to actually make a new layer over this to actually paint on. Um, and just leave the rest as below it. So that in cases like this where your sketch goes beyond, you can just go ahead and erase that sketch so that you don't have to paint over that area because you're going to want to use that as a background, right? That's the only two layers I think that I would like absolutely in my pieces 100% of the time is there is a background layer and there is a character layer or car layer or whatever we're painting at the moment. And where there is light, there is saturation. And just make sure that you get rid of the line showing. You can add like your details now in areas. And you don't need like a lot of detail. Like if you do like a base area and it's very painterly, like behind that ear it's like fluffy. It's just a few strokes. And then you add just a few strokes above that, right? That's all we did, and that brings out the details. You don't have to, unless it's really part of your style, as they call it, to draw every hair of the doggo part. She's a little, yeah. Um, you don't need to. There is a time limit that you were given probably to complete your work. I'm sure, like, if you're coming here from the artist alley, yeah, that gotta make last minute prints, right? Like, and you're trying, and maybe they're not turning out as good. And, you know, you might go for the cell shaded style because it does take a shorter amount of time, and that's something to consider when trying more painterly styles. Is there a lot harder to rush? I think it is a lot easier when you build it up, at least. But yeah, so this is gonna be just painting for a bit, really. This is the live paint portion. I'm not gonna actually have time to finish this piece. We're gonna cheat at the end also. We're gonna put it in the easy bake oven and see what it came up. So if there's a portion that you want to see me paint, we can certainly do it first. During the panel, I'm also going to have out cards at the beginning for questions. You can write it down. It's going to be easier, I think, trying something different so that people are not, I don't have to pause and answer questions during the panel. I can just pick the questions as they pertain, which might be easier. Oops. This is how you do every hair of the dog, by the way. You start with a darker color and you slowly build up to a lighter color over here. You can do this with acrylic paints too. Start with a dark base and slowly build that up. Rebella is great because this is your mouse scroll wheel, that's your zoom, and oops, your right click. You can just move it around. It's like really intuitive, I find. So great. So you can see here what I was talking about before. You can put like a very bright color on a very dark color, and that is going to really make that pop because there is more contrast between those colors. which is great. Blend for me. There's also a, yeah, this one gets crazy. Bring me the crazy paint. So this one's glowing through the bottom, and then it also has a surface highlight at the top. I think in one of my files, I do try to do some of the gold here. But I ended up just painting it local colors anyway because the gold just did not go the area. But yeah, I will say that Rebel is my new favorite. Painter used to be my favorite. I just think that it has surpassed Painter with what it can do. I think it's easier to find a brush that I like than compared to Painter's system. Because it's like literally, like if you took all your brushes out and they're right there, look. And they got little symbols. It's super cute. So here you can think about like, do I want the eye to glow? Is it going to reflect on something here? Is this light from the left, the gold light, going to light up these hairs? Or maybe it technically wouldn't, but you need something to separate out. We're constantly between, as artists, what is correct and what looks cool. And at the end of the day, I highly recommend just choosing what looks cool because there's no advancement in doing what a photograph does. Like we went through that era where people were drawing just canvases that are completely one solid color because cameras could make it realistic, right? Camera can make anything realistic. This is why we draw the anime, honestly, right? Because we're so tired of realism in comics. We get realism at work every day. We don't need it. We don't need it in our comics and our media. We want the fantasy, thanks. It's 8:18 and let's see, 2 more minutes of painting here. What time did I start this? Well, say how long I was live on Twitch. Yeah, 43. Perfect. So I can get an idea of how long this panel is going to be. Yeah, so like this neck is completely in shadow pretty much. And I can use pen pressure to blend this like with just 2 colors so you don't have to sample so many colors with that. And paint over the edge because it is paint. Do not be afraid to go fast and paint back and forth. Like I said before, don't worry about painting within the lines. Maybe for something like this tooth, like we're trying to perfect it a little bit more. It's just sometimes it can be as simple as softening a line with the anime face because specific for anime faces as compared to realistic faces. And you'll see a lot of painterly stuff on Pixiv, and you do not have to draw unless you're going for a very, very realistic style as compared to a more animated style. All the details of every single plane. You can pull in the fact that it is still a 2D creation a bit, like we are mixing the styles, right? of anime and painting, which is the key. So you don't need every single plane of a realistic face in order to complete that look and make it look correct for anime. It's why anime is kind of fun. It's meant to be a style that you can draw fast. It's literally derived, inspired from manga where you need to draw fast and adapted for these ones. You just pattern, oops, darker color. How we do the petals. Sometimes you don't even have to do like a lot of detail. It's just one brush stroke. Like these. Just make sure we're covering. Can even add extra branches. One color. Because you don't need that much detail. You could even just do one color above it. Alright, we're gonna watch the final speed paint. It's a 10-minute video and we'll go into some of the changes that I do in order to make this final. So yeah, we're all in Rimbrel here. And I was gonna play a cool song. I have music somewhere. Oh, that would ruin it, wouldn't it, if I go look for that? I have to bring up the music before. Or I can just talk over it. I think I lost my mic. It doesn't say that.
Battery 70%.
Yeah, battery 70%. I don't know why it's being like that. Okay. But you can see here we have facial skin tone blended in, the pinks. Building up the hat. Talk to my cat. We can't do that at the actual panel. And you can see how a darker band is going to make that buckle really pop and look metal. Yeah, I think I might just play some music over this. Because there's not a whole lot to explain. I'm using some different brushes here, and it's all within the oil acrylic base of the set. So if you're just joining, this is the last portion. This is a speed paint video of the absolute complete finish of this. This is about 2 hours of work. The program is Rebel. And building up off of the underpainting that we made with adjustments to light. I wonder if I can go off on this side and still like blips it off. I'm just gonna play some music. Should be in downloads. This is my favorite song. Oh my gosh. Can we not do it over here? Oh, did it close the other video? Oh, that's problematic. Maybe I should just add it to the video, but then if I want to talk, it's going to be difficult, like answer questions. Where is my final cat paint? Yeah, media player can only do one at a time, apparently. That's good to know. I'm going to speed it along. Let's see if I can. This might blip it for a moment. Downloads. Open with VLC. There we go. That works. I decide here that the belt local color is just way off. I end up placing my own color tone, which I want it to be deeper than skin tone. Using a broad brush, a larger brush, we can finish up the dress really fast because there is almost no detail in that. It is just very flat brush. And she is wearing a glove on that hand holding the cat. So it's hard to... I was trying to make sure to define that. And you'll notice on this too, the paw is really kind of, I would say, it ends up being kind of mush. And that's going to be on the final part. I'll show you what we do. So yeah, that's where we are. Let me close this up and we're gonna open, no, we don't want to save our changes, our final file. Yeah, this is the part where I was saying you gotta make sure you open it in Rebel if you use Rebel. Otherwise, it's going to open another file. Our paw was changed right here. This is more structural, and I think it's a huge thing to talk about when you do your work. Like, we're so afraid sometimes when we reach the end to make changes that are large changes like changing an arm. If you are unhappy with something, you should never be afraid at this stage to go ahead and paint over it. It's kind of fun. So that's our file, right? Our original. This is just painted right on top. So if I, that's how much of the sketch is showing. A little bit is painted in because we did paint in that large portion of the face. But all those dark parts, you don't even need to touch. Um, if there's no line showing with your brush. So for the background, if you're doing portraits, a lot of the times you can either A, choose contrasting color if you're going for something exciting. For this, I wanted it to feel together, so we went and chose colors that are a part of the actual portrait of this cat girl, the purple, and then took the yellow of the eye and busted it right behind her to get a little bit of contrast. I think it's kind of fun and it looks nice, even though there's white light behind her. And I think that brings us to 56 minutes, which is perfect because I have an hour panel to do on this. Um, but I'm actually unsure too if we're going to be handing out posters or not. It depends on how many are seated. I don't want to make people feel left out. But my intentions are during the panel to see if I have enough goodies for everybody. If not, anybody that wants to come to my booth after can use the secret code RIVER and receive for $3 your own. Actually, maybe $5. I don't know. I forget how much. $5 sounds good for 11 by 17 of this image if you attended the panel. If I don't have enough for free everybody at the panel, or maybe just $1. Literally, just hand me $1 at the table if I don't have enough. That way, I don't have to deal with maybe only 100 people get one and then 100 people don't, and people are mad. You have to come to my booth and buy it tomorrow. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this panel and got something of it. I know some of it's speed paint. I couldn't figure out something to paint that didn't look like garbage that I could paint within an hour. I'm a fairly slow painter compared to some other people, but I hope that we had fun watching and feel free to come up and ask questions type deal at the panel. And I'm hoping that I'll have my little note cards out so that people can write down questions during the panel so that we can zoom through this. See if there's anything on my list here that I did not include. Oh yeah, here's a common question. Like someone comes up at the panel, um, what's the best tablet? I need to buy drawing tablet immediately. And whatever one you're using is clearly the magical tablet that makes you draw, right? No, that's not that's not how it works. Like the people that were cavemen that drew in the caves didn't have a magical drawing tablet or a magical drawing pen. They worked hard to get some fluid movement into their drawings and probably practice drawing a few times, maybe in just dirt. The tablet that we will be using for the panel is a Wacom Intuos 3. It was made ancient times before probably half the room was born, I think. I don't know. A long time ago. Um, I actually do not recommend Wacom for newer tablets because you can get a similar quality from any of the major brands. Um, Except the ones that used AI on their advertisements recently, you can just boycott those ones. My personal drawing tablet at home for most of my work is a Zensi Labs tablet, which is by ex Wacom people, and I'm fairly happy with it. There were some minor issues with their old driver, but I think that they tidied up, which is nice. But and all in all, like if you go on eBay and get like an old Wacom for like 20 bucks, like it's all you need to start. You don't need a $300 drawing tablet. And with that, I hope that y'all paint soon. No matter what your skill level is, and that you have fun and that is not frustrating. Don't expect your first painting to come out like great. Like maybe you just start with a ball or a flower. If you're just beginning, like start with something simple and you might surprise yourself with how well you do. All right, thank you for coming in by. That would be the end of my panel. Yay! I'm gonna stop streaming now because it's about an hour and we're done.